Imagine this. You're a kid during Christmas in 2011. The presents you receive were just socks and clothes and all the presents you never really cared about as a kid. You're about to go back to your room, but your aunt gave you one last present. It was a big box, and it was pretty heavy too. So it has to be good, right? You remember asking your aunt for a Nintendo Wii for Christmas, and you were really excited to open it. And when you did, you got your Wii, but another game in the present. I'm sure you're just as confused as I was back in the day because you're probably asking yourself, what the f is PokePark? I could go into detail about when it was made and its significance and its history and blah blah blah. You don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. It's boring and Pokemon isn't boring, especially PokePark. So this game starts off with this extremely long intro sequence with Pikachu and his buddies just having some fun, and then Mew comes along, then you go inside its hole. So basically Mew just drugs you, then you're having the wildest trip of your life. Then he wakes you up in his basement and basically just says, "Hey buddy, sorry for kidnapping you, but I need you to collect 14 bags of crystal meth to supply my addiction." After that, he drugs you again, then leaves you butt naked in a forest. Then a parrot bird looking thing is confused as hell and says, "Oh, you're not around here, are you? Let me show you this extremely dragged out tutorial a brain-dead 7-year-old Matt couldn't complete." So yeah, the tutorial is just basic movements like any other game tutorial, but the only thing that bothered me the most is that you have to keep mashing the one button. And speaking of mashing buttons, after the tutorial is over, a Baneri comes up to you and asks you to move this fat ass out of its fucking way. I mean, it's easy to wake up a Snorlax, you know? Like, you can always tap its body or like shout to wake it up. But no, you electrify and shock that thing. Like, well, what if you killed it, huh? Like, what if it was just sleeping there and it had 1 HP and it just lay there dead? But that didn't happen. You just woke it up and it just slept somewhere else. So after the whole intro sequence of the game, you finally go to this place called the Meadow Zone, and then you meet your buddy Chikorita, that useless bitch. So Chikorita convinces you to join Bulbasaur's race, and it's basically like a mini game, and when you win the race, he gives you that little bit of crystal. Then right after that, she gets kidnapped. So you basically have to rescue her, but Trico blocks your way and says, "I'll only let you through if you let this slow-ass turtle win Bulbasaur's race." Turtwig the slow-ass turtle wins the race, so you told Trico about it, and he said, "You know what? I didn't like that attraction anyway, but a deal's a deal. I'll let you pass, but you're still a bitch." And then Mankey blocks your path on the next bridge, and you know, since you're Pikachu, you end up killing him. No, not really. You then go up to the gate where they're keeping Chikorita, but that Pokemon cock blocks your path, and he goes, "Oh, you're trying to talk to the big man Venusaur? Well, I ain't allowing it, and you have to pay me 200 berries. Like, bitch, like, stop scamming me." But you end up giving the money anyway to progress through the story. You then talk to Venusaur, but he gives you a deal that you have to finish a quest to actually talk to him and free Chikorita. Now, me personally, I don't give a shit about Chikorita. Like, she could die for all I care. So yeah, you end up doing that quest anyway because that game can't advance without you doing so. Then you do that Venusaur minigame, and once you complete it, he gives you a letter that you have to give to Empoleon with some complimentary meth from him. And Chikorita is finally free. Oh, you think the game is over? Nah, the gameplay is like 20 hours long. So after the Meadow Zone, you then go to this area called the Meeting Place, where there are multiple zones where you could find your other friends from the beginning, and to find those crystals to fuel Mew's meth addiction. After checking the Meeting Place out, you then move to this new place called the Beach Zone, which has the grooviest beach music I've ever heard in a video game. You then see Slowpoke and Azurill talking about a fight between Feraligatr and Gyarados that just fucked up most of the bridges connecting the small islands. I mean, y'all are like water Pokemon, like can't you swim or something? But you know, it's a part of the storyline, so you have to help them rebuild the bridge by getting Bidoof to fix it. But these cocksuckers Sharpedo and Carvanha don't allow you to build it without Gyarados' permission, but allow it if you complete Pelipper's minigame. This game has a lot of minigames, doesn't it? You complete the minigame, then finish building the bridge and finally changing Gyarados' mind and fighting Feraligatr by beating his minigame and telling Feraligatr about it. And now you can finally go to the Ice Zone to see Empoleon. Now you're probably saying, wow, it's that simple? Nope, we have a lot more to go. You then arrive to the Iceberg Zone, but Piloswine guards the gate and says Empoleon froze it shut, so you gotta free Mamoswine since he's apparently the only guy who could get it open. You're finally able to deliver Venusaur's message of forgiveness, but Empoleon doesn't believe it unless you finish his minigame. But you end up doing that and Empoleon tells you to go to Blaziken. Like, oh my god, bro. Like, if you're that sorry, why don't you just go up to him yourself, you know? Anyway, you go to this place called the Cavern Zone, which is also known as a whole bunch of filler. But you get crystals as well, so like, don't forget about that. As you speedrun through that zone, you finally reach the Lava Zone where Blaziken is at. and where all the tough and strong Pokemon hang out. You find Charmander there, and he's such a Blaziken dick rider. Like, bro, get off his meat. Like, he doesn't even know you. So yeah, he kept following Blaziken, and you have to go after him. And then there are 2 guards blocking the way, and they only allow you to enter once you complete like these mini games. Then you could talk to Blaziken. So once you get to Blaziken, he'll only make amends with Venusaur and Empoleon if you guessed it, if you beat his minigame. Oh wow, I fucking love minigames. Oh wow. So once you complete the minigames, that dick rider Charmander leaves him and joins you to the meeting place. In the meeting place, you and the gang are just questioning, yeah, we're getting this meth to Mew, but like, where the fuck is he and how do we get to him? And then Duskull tells you that Miss Magius knows about it and she's in the haunted house. I mean, that seems easy enough. But there's a catch, you know, like even though it seems easy, there's a small catch, and that catch is you have to suffer 2 hours of filler. So yeah, once you do all of that just to get a piece of information to unlock yet another zone called the Granite Zone. It's basically like the same formula as the other zones, but like this one is a little bit more fun because you know, you get to do parkour and then like you get to see cool Pokemon. Now after all of that same repetitive work is over, you then go to the Flower Zone. You then meet up with Shaman, and then he explains a little bit more that the Sky Pavilion is where Mew stays, and like, who would have guessed? The Sky Pavilion floats in the sky. Like, who would have guessed that? Like, I wouldn't have guessed. Who would have guessed that? Wow. After that, you have to do some of his side quests, which I can't be bothered to explain anymore since it's really repetitive. And then you get to use the balloon y'all made at a meeting place to head towards the Sky Pavilion. Now, Mew is finally happy that you brought his mess, so he took a whiff, and damn, that shit is loud as fuck. He has an extremely bad trip and just basically fucks around and fights you. But right after you beat him and calm him down, he's finally done with the drugs, and everyone is happy at the end because of the power of friendship. Yay! I honestly could have explained it a bit better since it's been more than a decade since I played it, but like, was the game fun for me? Yeah. Was it repetitive? Yeah, sometimes, but my 7-year-old self didn't mind it. You guys should honestly give it a shot since I feel like it's way ahead of its time and way more open than Sword and Shield. I just love that game even though half of it is mostly filler. Maybe I just love it for the nostalgia.